This article describes the economy of the Muisca. The Muisca people were the original inhabitants of the Altiplano Cundiboycense, the high plateau in the eastern ranges of central present-day Colombia. The rich economy and advanced merchant abilities were widely known by the indigenous groups of the area and described by the Spanish conquistadors, whose primary objective was the acquisition of the mineral resources of tierra firma, gold, emeralds, carbon, silver and copper. The Muisca economy was self-sufficient regarding the basic supplies, thanks to the advanced technologies of the agriculture on raised terraces by the people. The system of trade was well established, providing both the higher social classes and the general population abundances of gold, feathers, marine snails, coca, yopo and other luxury goods. Markets were held every 4 to 8 days in various settlements throughout the Muisca Confederation, and special markets were organized around festivities where merchants from far outside the Andes were trading the goods with the Muisca. Apart from agriculture, the Muisca were well developed in the production of different crafts, using the raw materials traded with surrounding indigenous peoples. Famous are the golden and tumbaga objects made by the Muisca people. Cotton mantles, cloths and nets were made by the Muisca women and traded for valuable goods. Tropical fruits and small cotton cloths were used as money. The Muisca were unique in South America for having real coins of gold, called tejuelos. Mining was an important source of income for the Muisca, who were called salt people because of the salt mines in Zibiquira, Nemocon and Tausa. Like the western neighbors, the Muisca, who were called the emerald people, they mined emeralds in the territories, mainly in Somondoco. Carbon was found throughout the region of the Muisca in Eocene sediments and used for the fires for cooking and the production of salt and golden ornaments. As the clear objective of the Spanish colonizers was to gain access to the rich mineral resources and the golden figures made by the Muisca people. Many primary accounts of the Muisca economy have been considered biased, misinterpreted or even outright false by later scholars. Pedro de Aguado, Pedro Simon, Juan de Castellanos, Juan de los Barrios, first conquistador Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada and many others have written about the economy of the Muisca. Later research, in many cases nuancing or even refuting the scriptures of the early Spanish writers, has been conducted by Carl Henrik Lang of Beck, Marianne Cardale de Schrimpf, Sylvia Broadbent, George Gamboa Mendoza, Javier Ocampo Lopez and others. Background: in the times before the Spanish conquest of the Muisca, the central part of present-day Colombia, the eastern ranges of the Colombian Andes, was inhabited by the Muisca people, who were organized in a loose confederation of rulers. The central authorities of Bacata in the south and Hunza in the north were called Zipa and Zac respectively. Other rulers were the Iraqi priest in Sacred City of the Sun, Sugamaxi, the Tundama of Tundama and various other caciques. The Muisca spoke Chibcha in their own language called Muiscuban, language of the people. The Muisca people, different from the other three great civilizations of the Americas, the Maya, Aztec and Inca, did not build grand stone architecture, yet the settlements were relatively small and consisted of bohíos, circular houses of wood and clay, organized around a central market square with the house of the cacique in the center. Roads were present to connect the settlements with each other and with the surrounding indigenous groups, of which the Guani and Laish to the north, the Panchi and Muso to the west and Gayup, Achagua and Tegua to the east were the most important. The Muisca were polytheistic and the religion and mythology was closely connected with the natural area they were inhabiting. They had a thorough understanding of astronomical parameters and developed developed a complex lunisolar calendar, the Muisca calendar. According to the calendar, they had specific times for sowing, harvest and the organization of festivals where they sang, danced and played music and drank the national drink chicha in great quantities. The Muisca mummified the most respected members of the community, and the mummies were not buried, yet displayed in the temples, in natural locations such as caves, and even carried on the backs during warfare to impress their enemies. Their art is the most famous remnant of the culture, as living spaces, temples and other existing structures have been destroyed by the Spanish who colonized the Muisca territories. A primary example of the fine gold working is the Muisca raft, together with more objects made of gold, tumbaga, ceramics and cotton displayed in the Museo del Oro in Bogotá, the ancient capital of the southern Muisca. Muisca Economy. Accounts of the Spanish conquistadors show the Muisca had a highly advanced and specialized economy based on a variety of sources of income. The main foundation of their economy was the agricultural development using raised terraces on the fertile plains and valleys of the Altiplano. Cundiboyacense. The caciques did not control the production directly, although surpluses were distributed among them. Excavations at the archaeological site El Infierno did not provide evidence of a power structure based on economical differences. Social complexity and advanced status of economies are often measured based on the specialization in craft production. The specialized crafts form an economical advantage and sign of social prestige over competing communities. This has been theorized in the case of the Muisca economy, yet certain research restricted to the Bogotá area has found little evidence to support that thesis. Explanations for the lack of archaeological evidence on wealth differences and relations between higher social classes and wealth have been given in the form of methodological issues, ethno-historical exaggerations by the Spanish looking for gold, and sampling issues. The biased views of the Spanish on the Muisca economy and other characteristics of the Muisca society have been noted by various scholars, and in recent years a re-examination of those primary accounts has been conducted, among others by George Gamboa Mendoza. All the 16th-century Spanish chroniclers agree upon the trading advantage the Muisca had. One of them was Juan de los Barrios, who wrote that the Muisca men were traders and extremely able in such matters. The Muisca were so sharp in the dealings that no other Indian could equal them in matters of such dazzling ingenuity. The early Spanish writers have reported that the Muisca paid tribute to other caciques. It has been suggested, for instance by Carl Henrik Lang of Beck, that those tributes were a misinterpretation of the Spanish. The Chibcha verb to give, to present, was sepquisca, and the word for to give was zequisca, zemisca, zequitisuca. Agriculture was the main source of income for the Muisca, who were generally self-sustaining due to the fertility of the soils of the Altiplano, especially on the Bogotá savanna. The fertility originates from the lake deposits, the result of the Pleistocene Lake Humboldt that existed until around 30,000 years BP, and which remnants are still visible today. The various lakes and wetlands of the Altiplano. Other prehistorical and historical lakes were present in the other valleys of the high plateau, the Abate Chiquinquirá Valley, Duatamas Ogabaso Valley and the Tenza Valley. When the lakes dried up, they left leveled fertile soils which were used by the Muisca to cultivate a large variety of crops, mainly maize, tubers, beans, quinoa and potatoes. The fertility of the Bogotá savanna was enhanced by the deposition of neogene volcanic ashes. Fruits were cultivated in Somondoco and Subico. The highest population density was related to the richest agricultural lands, mainly on the Bogotá savanna. To ensure a subsistence economy, the Muisca irrigated the lands and varied the cultivation over different climatic zones. The geography of the area allowed for microecological regions providing farmlands on the fertile plains and in higher altitude terrains such as mountain slopes. Quinoa and potatoes were cultivated on the highest altitudes, maize and cocoa in the temperate regions, and yucca, acacia, pineapples, tobacco and cotton in the low-lying valleys with a warmer climate. Additionally, Cucurbita maxima, Oxalis tuberosa, peppers and Ullucus tuberosus were cultivated by the Muisca. The surplus of the agricultural production was available for trading on the many markets throughout the Muisca territories. In the northern areas of Veqtlez, Suruba and Hunza, the topographical variability allowed for the cultivation of cotton and yucca and later sugarcane. The dramatic variations in temperature and rainfall, together with the irrigation from the rivers Suarez, Chicamocha, Opon and Carrera, provided a sophisticated and diverse economic system. Irrigation canals and raised terraces were built throughout the area, important ones in Fasativa, Chocanta, Tocancipá and Tanya. The favorable climate of the lower altitude areas, such as the Valley of Tena, allowed for 2 maize harvests a year, while on the cooler Bogotá savanna only 1 harvest per year was possible. Hunting and fishing. The Muisca obtained most of the meat and fish by hunting and fishing. The many rivers and lakes on the Altiplano provided rich resources in fish, especially the lakes Fucane and Tota. Hunting and fishing were activities performed by the Muisca men, while the Muisca women cared for the sewing, cloth production and ceramics elaboration. Domestication of guinea pigs started already in the Herrera period around 500 BCE. Evidence for this has been discovered at Tequendama among other sites. Mining. The territories of the Muisca contained rich mineral resources of various kinds. Salt was mainly extracted in Zipaquira, Nemocon and Tausa, with minor mining activity in Sesquale, Gamesa, and Guachata. Emeralds were mined in Somondo, Cosquez and Abala. Carbon exploitation was executed in Sugarmuxi, Topaga and Gamesa. Copper mining took place in Gachantiva, Moniquira and Sumapaz. Gold and silver deposits were not common in the Muisca area and mostly obtained through trade. The mining of emeralds was conducted using coas, long thick wooden poles. The people dug holes during the rainy seasons next to the emerald-containing rocks, and the emeralds from sedimentary rocks would wash into the holes that dried up and provided the clean emeralds. Emeralds from veins in metamorphic rocks were excavated using sharp poles. Carbon was a common resource in the Muisca territory and was found mainly in the Bogotá and Guaduas formations. The process of exploitation was similar to the emeralds, using pointed wooden sticks. Production. Apart from agriculture and mining, production was an important economic activity of the Muisca. Raw materials for the production of golden and tumbaga objects, cotton cloths and ceramics were mostly traded with neighboring indigenous groups, or the result of extraction within the Muisca Confederation, such as clays from the many rivers on the Altiplano. Ceramics. The Muisca were notable for the ceramics production, and major production was located close to rivers and lakes. The surroundings of Lake Fucan formed a principal place for ceramics production, especially in Raquira and Tinjaca. The Spanish called the people from this region pottery people. Other important clay and ceramic producing settlements were Socha, Cogua, Guatavita, Gachansipa and Tocancipá on the Bogotá savanna, and Tutaza, Raquira, Sutameshon and Guasca and Susque to the north of the flat plains. The production of pottery was the task assigned to the Muisca women, who who produce various ceramics such as anthropomorphic vases, cups and mugs. The typical bowls called mukura pans, the large pots for salt extraction, and jars with 2, 4, 6 holes. The pots were decorated with colorful paints and stylized serpent or frog figures. Gold working. Most famous were the Muisca for the gold working. The majority of historical artifacts in the world are made of gold and tumbaga, a copper gold-silver alloy. Gold was not common in the Muisca territories as a primary resource and was obtained through trade. The primary site for gold working was Guatavita, close to the sacred lake with the same name. A range of objects was made of the precious minerals: crowns, nose rings, pectorals, earrings, diadems, tungos, brooches, scepters, coins, and tools. To produce their objects, the people used melting pots, torches and ovens. The tumbaga was poured into heated stone molds filled with beeswax to elaborate the desired figures. The heat would melt the wax and leave space for the gold to replace it. The advanced techniques produced highly stylized figures. The weaving was performed by the women and used the cotton cultivated in the warmer climates, traded for salt or ceramics. Wooden spindles and clay rolls were used to perform the weaving of braided or tied cloths and mantles. Also nets were made of cotton. Needles were made of gold or bone. The cloths were painted black, red and other colors with clay rollers and pencils. As paint, the Muisca women used indigo, woodlice, saffron, plants of the acanthus family, and Bocconia fruit essence and other natural inks. Trade. Early chronicler Wanda Castellanos noted that the Muisca were more traders than fighters. Trading was performed using salt, small cotton cloths and larger mantles and ceramics as barter trade. Also flat dishes made of gold were used as coins. These tehuelo were plain round discs of 1 centimeter, 4 centimeters or 5 centimeters diameter. Tehuelo have been found in Gayuta in the Tenza Valley. This monetary system using coins was unique among the South American indigenous peoples. Every 4 days markets were active in Bacata, Hunza, Zipaquira and Termaque. Other important market settlements were Chocanta, Pacho, Tocancipá, Funza and Somondoco. According to Pedro Simon, the Muisca held markets every 8 days. Sorocota, along the Suarez River, was a major market town for trade with the Guani, where gold from Giron and the Carrera River area was traded for emeralds. From Somondoco, also tropical fruits that didn't grow on the high plateau in the Andes were sold here. The town of La Torre, present-day Barrancabermeja, was important for trade with the Caribbean coast and the major source for the highly regarded marine snail shells, elaborated with gold by the Cardona. Trade with the lowland people of the Llanos Orientales happened along trade routes across the eastern ranges. The crossings over rivers were made with ropes. Products as yopo, beeswax and honey, cotton, fish and fruits were traded with the Llanos peoples Gayup, Achagua and Tegua. Also the precious colorful feathers of exotic birds used for the Muisca crowns were traded with the Llanos, that provided animal skins such as jaguars for the hats of the caciques as well. While archaeological evidence suggests the trade was mainly inside the Muisca terrain, the low preservation degree of certain objects may well have biased that conclusion. The cotton, important for the weaving of mantles both for clothing on the relatively cold Altiplano, came from northern and eastern regions. The northern circle of trade was centered around Sugarmaxi in Tundama, and the eastern trade dominated by the markets in Tusaca, Chocanta and Susca. Coca trade concentrated in the north around Motavita and Chitagoto as well as Soata. The merchants from Pipa would travel the 80 kilometers from the city to Soata to buy coca, which was sold again on the market in Tunya. 100 kilometers to the south. At certain times according to the Muisca calendar, the people organized bigger markets during the festivities where people from farther away would come and trade the products. One of the most important of those ferias were held close to the banks of the Magdalena River, to the west of the Muisca territories in Panchi and Muso terrains. Here, gold and tropical fruits as avocados, guayabas, ice cream beans, star apples and various members of the Anono family were obtained, traded for mantles, emeralds and salt. Other big festivity markets were organized in Coaima, on the banks of the Saldanha River and close to Neiva area of the Piau. Colonial period. Soon after the arrival of the Spanish, a system of encomenderos was installed in the new Kingdom of Granada, as Colombia was called after 1537, where the caciques of the Muisca settlements were forced to pay tributes to the Spanish every 6 months. The previously self-sustaining economy was quickly transformed into intensive agriculture and mining that created a change in the landscape and culture of the Muisca. The indigenous inhabitants were forced to work the farmlands and mines for the Spanish, who were imported slaves from Africa in addition to the Muisca labor. The European settlers used the Muisca economy, where gold was exchanged for cotton, salt, emeralds, mantles and other products to avoid paying the quinta real tax to the Spanish crown, which was based on gold, where the first settlers required the Muisca chiefs to pay the tributes to the new reign in gold. Later payments were done using the replacement products that were then changed to gold at the markets of Pamplona and Mariquita. In 1558, 20 years after the victory of the Spanish conquistadors over the Muisca, a letter to the Spanish crown revealed that more than 11,000 pesos were lost per year in evaded tax payments due to the system of trade via other products than gold. Modern age remaining of the Muisca economy in the present are the many markets throughout central Colombia, the emerald mining and the elaboration of cloths and pottery. Collection of Muisca economical products are displayed in the famous Gold Museum in Bogotá, the Archaeology Museum of Sogamoso, the Colombian National Museum and other smaller museums on the Altiplano. Bibliography. Arguello Garcia, Pedro Maria, 2015. Subsistence Economy and Chiefdom Emergence in the Muisca Area. A Study of the Vale de Tena, 1-193. University of Pittsburgh. Accessed 8 July 2016. Carril Arregard, Gonzalo, 1990. Aguazuc, Evidence of Hunter-Gatherers and Growers on the High Plains of the Eastern Ranges, 1-316. Banco de la República, Fundación de Investigaciones Arqueológicas Nacionales. Accessed 8 July 2016. Daza, Blanca Isabel, 2013. Historia del proceso de mestizaje alimentario entre Colombia y España. History of the integration process of foods between Colombia and Spain. 1-494. Universitat de Barcelona. Delgado Burbano, Miguel, Carl Henrik Lange Rueda, Lucero Aristizabal, Robert Tykett, and Lauren Johnson. 2014. Indicadores bioquímicos de dieta en Tibánaca, un poblado muiscatario en la sabana de Bogotá. Isotopos estables y elementos traza. Biochemical indicators of diet in Tibánaca, a late Muisca settlement on the Bogotá savanna. Stable isotopes and trace elements. Avances recientes de la bioarqueología latinoamericana _ 103-127. Francis, John Michael, 1993. Muchas Hippas, no meanness. The Muiscas, a merchant society. Spanish misconceptions and demographic change, 1-118. University of Alberta, Gamboa Mendoza, George, 2016. Los Muiscas, Grupos Indígenas del Nuevo Reino de Granada, una nueva propuesta sobre su organización socio-political y su evolución en el siglo XVI. The Muisca, indigenous groups of the New Kingdom of Granada. A new proposal on the social political organization and their evolution in the 16th century. Museo del Oro, accessed 8 July 2016. Krushuk, Michael H. 2003. The Evolution of the Bogotá Chiefdom, A Household View, 1-271. University of Pittsburgh, accessed 8 July 2016. Langer Rueda, Carl Henrik, 2005b. Fiestas y Caciques Muiscas en el Infierno, Colombia. Un análisis de la relación entre festejos y organización política, festivities and Muisca Caciques en el Infierno, Colombia. An analysis of the relation between celebrations and political organization. Boletín de Arqueología 9, 281-295. Martinez Martin, A.F. and E. J. Manricardo, 2014. Alimentación prehispánica y transformaciones tras la conquista europea del Altiplano Cundiboyacense, Colombia. Revista Virtual Universidad Católica del Norte 41. 96-111. Accessed 8 July 2016. Ocampo Lopez, Javier, 2007. Grandes Culturas Indígenas de América, Great Indigenous Cultures of the Americas, 1-238. Plaza and Amp, Janes Editors Colombia S. A. Restrepo Manrique, Cecilia. 2009. La alimentación en la vida cotidiana del Colegio de Nuestra Señora del Rosario, 1653-1773 and AMP, 1776-1900. The food in the daily life of the Colegio de Nuestra Señora del Rosario, 1653-1773 and AMP, 1776-1900, 1-352. Ministerio de la Cultura, accessed 8 July 2016. Segura Calderón Adriana Maria, 2014. Reconstrucción de la Memoria Histórica del Territorio Muisca Dakota, 1-146. Universidad Pedagógica Nacional.